So, this is a week 3 practical application reflection to FTT 2216171, cites optics and accuracy. It says summarize the procedure you followed to mount, align, and lap the scope rings. At the end of your summary, explain whether or not you overlapped the rings. If you did, will you do it in the future to avoid, and how would you, I'm assuming how you would avoid it. So for the procedure, I did a video on it. It's a pretty interesting procedure actually, and that's what it is, a procedure. Basically mounting the scope rings onto the Picatinny rail, mounting the scope, making sure that the scope is aligned, removing the scope, and testing with the Weaver kit to see how well that the scope rings are aligned with each other, and then putting the lapping compound in the scope rings, putting the lapping compound on that metal bar, putting it in, moving it back and forth, and that lapping compound, because of the consistency and the grit to it, will slowly remove material from those scope rings, making it very uniform, and hopefully making it so uniform that when the scope mounts, it fits almost perfectly in it, or perfectly in it. And then obviously cleaning it up and then putting the scope in, or you can put the Weaver tool in just to see how it's lined up, and then go ahead and mount the scope. Did I overlap? No, I didn't. I would say that I probably maybe underlapped. So I would think you could probably overlap, which could make the scope maybe even too loose. So explain why the author means when he says the lapping rings align them to each other and the base they were mounted to. If the rings have been lapped on a quality base, shouldn't they be aligned if transferred to a different mount on another gun? No, I don't believe so. I think that when you're mounting a scope and the rings to that particular firearm, I think that they all play as parts to one whole. If you take one part away and then you add another part, once you've got it all set up, it's not going to be the same. Let's make sure I've answered that question, what the author means when saying that the lapping rings align them to each other and the base they were mounted to. So they are. I mean, you're hopefully you've got the base Picatinny rail aligned, straight, level, set well, and then once you put those rings on and you have them set, and then you you lap it and you mount that scope, that to me, I believe that's a done deal. I mean, you could probably put it on another firearm. I wouldn't. I mean, you've lined them up for that particular firearm. Next one, if asked by a customer to mount, I like this one actually. If you mount a scope, when would you recommend the upcharge for an alignment? There are instances when you wouldn't recommend the process, such as the purchase of a specific ring, of course, aluminum. You don't want to use on aluminum rings. And if you're buying a $40 scope, you're probably not going to pay to have somebody mount your firearm for you. I mean, mount your rings and your scope and then lap it. You might, they may. It's not that you want to talk somebody out of business, but maybe you could talk them into a better scope and better rings, and then you could lap it. Also, it says in here, what other procedures would you complete for the customer? And I would try to talk them into maybe bedding the rifle, maybe actually mounting that Picatinny rail on the receiver, maybe even doing bore sighting, or maybe even sighting in the scope for them. And I may even try to talk them into like a hydro dip or something along those lines. Maybe a trigger job. It's probably a lot of things that you could probably talk somebody into, but whether or not they have the funds to pay for those. But anyway, so that is my, well, I want to add in there, I really enjoyed doing doing the mounting of the scope. I have a scope, I want to mount it, and I wanted to lap it, and this has given me a little extra courage to do my own. Thank you.